Zareth continued. "You are not fighting a war. You are teaching a lesson that will be remembered for as long as intelligent life exists in Tone. Year after the first attack on human civilians, the Zephyrian Empire and the Vorthan Collective no longer existed as functioning political entities. Their territory had been systematically occupied by human forces who demonstrated an unsettling competence at both warfare and administration. Admiral Laura Scott, now promoted from her original rank of captain, oversaw the integration of former enemy populations into human-administered zones. The process was nothing like what the surviving alien leadership had expected. There had been no genocide. There had been no mass enslavement. There had been no destruction of alien culture or forced conversion to human beliefs. Instead, the humans proved to be efficient and surprisingly fair administrators, which somehow made their complete victory even more disturbing to the defeated alien species. "We don't want to rule over you," Laura explained to a gathering of former Zephyrian military officers. "We want to make sure you never threaten anyone's civilians again. There's a difference. The human occupation zones were run with a combination of military efficiency and civilian oversight that confused aliens who had expected either brutal oppression or chaotic anarchy. Human administrators studied alien cultures, learned alien languages, and adapted human systems to work with alien psychology. Dr. Helen Park had become Earth's leading expert on post-conflict psychology among alien species. Her research into how different species processed defeat and occupation had helped human administrators avoid many of the problems that typically arose when one species conquered another. The key insight, Helen explained to a conference of human administrators, is that most alien species view conflict as a temporary state that ends when one side wins. They expect the winners to either destroy the losers or integrate them into the winning society. They don't understand the human concept of conditional victory. Conditional victory was the term human strategists used to describe their approach to ending the war. They hadn't tried to conquer alien territory for its own sake. They had conquered it to ensure that it could never again be used to threaten human civilians. The former Zephyrian Empire was now administered by a joint human-alien council that included both species, but the humans retained absolute veto power over any decision related to military affairs, weapons development, or expansion beyond current borders. The former Vorthan Collective had been reorganized as an economic cooperative with human oversight of all resource extraction and trade agreements. The Vorthans were allowed to maintain their merchant culture, but they could no longer use economic pressure to force other species into military alliances. Commander Dan Foster, now serving as Earth's Director of Galactic Affairs, spent most of his time explaining human intentions to confused alien leaders who couldn't understand why humans hadn't simply exterminated them. "You threatened our children," Dan told a gathering of former enemy commanders. "So we removed your ability to threaten anyone ever again. It's not personal. It's just a problem that needed to be solved." The elder species had requested a formal meeting with Earth's leadership 6 months after the fighting stopped. Ambassador Zareth led a delegation that included representatives from species so old that some had forgotten their own origins. The meeting took place aboard Kepler Station, which had been rebuilt and expanded to serve as humanity's diplomatic headquarters. The station now included facilities for dozens of different alien species and environmental systems that could support life forms that breathed everything from oxygen to liquid methane. President Katie Turner attended the meeting personally, along with the senior military and civilian leaders who had guided humanity through the war. The contrast between the human delegation and the alien one was striking. The aliens looked ancient and worn, as if the weight of millions of years of history was physically crushing them. The humans looked tired but determined, like people who had finished a difficult job and were ready to move on to the next challenge. Zareth spoke for the elder species. His silvery form flickered as he addressed the assembled humans. "We owe you an explanation," Zareth said. The warnings we gave were based on historical events that occurred 3 million years ago. We encountered a species that demonstrated capabilities similar to yours. We called them the architects. The room was completely silent. The architects were young when we first met them, Zareth continued. They had just discovered faster than light, travel. They seemed peaceful and curious. They wanted only to explore and learn. President Turner leaned forward. What happened to them? 2 major powers decided to recruit them into their conflict, one of the Crystalline Dominion representatives sang. They thought these newcomers would provide additional ships and soldiers. They were wrong. Zareth's form grew brighter as he continued the story. The architects didn't fight to win battles. They fought to solve the problem of having enemies. Within 50 years, both warring civilizations were extinct. Within 200 years, the architects had conquered or destroyed every intelligent species in their region of the galaxy. And then, General Ryan Bell asked. Within 2,000 years, they turned on themselves, Zareth replied. Civil war consumed their entire civilization. They developed weapons that could crack planets and turn star systems into graveyards. When they were finished, nothing was left but ruins and warnings carved into dead worlds. Dr. Kevin Walsh spoke, up from his position near the back of the room. What kind of warnings? One of the ancient tree-like beings answered in its wind-through-leaves voice. Messages telling anyone who found them to learn from their mistakes, to be better than they had been, to find a way to stop before it was too late. President Turner was quiet for a long moment. Is that what you think will happen to us? We hoped you would prove different, Zareth said. The difference between you and the architects is that you seem capable of stopping yourselves before that final step. This terrifies us more than your weapons. Why? Admiral Sarah Kim asked. Because it means you might succeed where they failed, the crystalline representative replied. You might actually create lasting peace through the application of overwhelming force. The galaxy has never seen such a thing. Commander Foster presented humanity's terms for galactic peace. The document was surprisingly simple, only 3 pages long compared to the hundreds of pages that typically characterized interstellar treaties. The core principle was straightforward, a new galactic confederation with humans serving as mediators. For all interspecies conflicts, any species that initiated warfare against another would face human intervention. We're not interested in ruling the galaxy, Foster explained. We're interested in making sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. No more attacks on civilians. No more forced recruitment into other people's wars. No more threats against neutral parties. The terms were accepted immediately by every species present. 5 years later, Captain Jake Morrison commanded a joint species exploration fleet heading toward unknown regions of the galaxy. The ship's crew included humans, former Zephyrians, former Vorthons, and representatives from a dozen other species. The former war zones had become the most peaceful and prosperous regions in known space. Trade flowed freely between worlds that had been enemies just a few years earlier. Cultural exchange programs had replaced military alliances. Ambassador Lisa Carter served as the first human chancellor of the Galactic Peace Council, a position that required her to mediate disputes between species that had been fighting for thousands of years. Her success rate was remarkable, partly because everyone knew what happened to species that couldn't resolve their conflicts peacefully. Dr. Walsh had established the Institute for Galactic Understanding, a research facility dedicated to studying how different species could coexist without resorting to warfare. The Institute's work had already prevented 3 potential conflicts and helped resolve dozens of territorial disputes. The most important discovery came during an exploration mission to the edge of known space. Captain Morrison's fleet found the ruins of an ancient civilization in a dead star system. The planets had been cracked open like eggs, and the debris fields contained technology that was clearly artificial but completely non-functional. Among the ruins, they found a series of monuments covered in writing in a language that no one recognized. Dr. Walsh's translation team worked for months to decode the messages. The final translation was displayed on a simple metal plaque in the center of the monument complex. We could not stop ourselves in time. Perhaps those who come after us will prove wiser, learn from our mistakes, be better than we were. The galaxy needs guardians, not conquerors. Admiral Kim, now elderly and serving as Earth's senior military advisor, read the translation during a ceremony attended by representatives from every known species. Her response was recorded in the official records of the Galactic Peace Council. Message. Received. Admiral Kim said simply. Lesson learned. We will be better. The ceremony concluded with the dedication of a new monument built by the combined efforts of dozens of species. The inscription was written in every known galactic language. Here stood a civilization that learned too late the price of unchecked power. Commander Jake Sullivan stood in the control room of Earth Defense Station Alpha. The blue glow of monitors filled the dark space around him. He had been watching the stars for 12 years, waiting for something that might never come. Today felt different. Sir, we have something, called out operator Lisa Carter from her station. Her voice was tight with excitement. Deep space sensors are picking up a signal. It's not natural. Jake moved quickly to her station. The screen showed wave patterns unlike anything they had seen before. The signal came from beyond Pluto, far outside the solar system. It was structured, purposeful. It was intelligent. Are you sure about this, Lisa? Jake asked. His heart was beating fast. First contact with alien life had been a dream for centuries. Now it might be happening on his watch. Yes, sir. The pattern repeats every 30 seconds. Someone is trying to talk to us. Jake grabbed the red phone that connected him directly to Earth Command. Admiral Helen Davis answered on the first ring. Admiral, this is Sullivan at Station Alpha. We have contact. The line went quiet for a moment. Confirmed contact, Commander? Yes, ma'am. Intelligent signal from deep space. Dr. Carter is analyzing it now. I'll wake the President. Keep that signal coming, Sullivan. This changes everything. Jake hung up and turned back to Lisa. She was working fast, her fingers flying over the keyboard. The signal was getting stronger. Jake, look at this, Lisa said. They're not just sending random signals. They're teaching us their language. Basic math, then more complex ideas. They want to communicate. Hours passed. The world's best scientists worked together to decode the alien message. Jake watched as the first real words appeared on the screen. The message was simple but clear. We are the Vakari Empire. We come in peace to meet the people of Earth. Jake felt relief wash over him. Peaceful contact. This was the best possible outcome. Earth was not ready for war with an advanced alien race. 2 days later, Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, Earth's most advanced warship. It was not much compared to what was coming, but it was the best humanity had. Admiral Davis had chosen him to lead Earth's first contact mission. Captain, sensors show multiple ships approaching the outer system, reported his tactical officer. Count is 12 vessels, much larger than anything we have. Ryan nodded. The alien fleet was massive, but 12 ships suggested a diplomatic mission, not an invasion force. Open a channel. The main screen flickered and showed something that made Ryan's breath catch. The alien looked almost human, but taller and thinner. Its skin was pale blue, and its eyes were completely black. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mechanical. I am War Prime Thexkar of the Vakari Empire. You will bring your leaders to discuss terms. Ryan felt uncomfortable with the alien's tone, but he stayed professional. Welcome to our solar system, War Prime. I am Captain Brooks. Our leaders are eager to meet with you. The alien's mouth curved into what might have been a smile, but it showed too many sharp teeth. Good. We have much to discuss about your future. The meeting took place on a neutral station between Earth and the alien fleet. Ambassador Paul Green led the human delegation. He was Earth's best diplomat, chosen for this historic moment. War Prime Thexkar arrived with 6 other Vakari. They were all tall and moved with dangerous grace. Their technology was clearly advanced. Their weapons looked nothing like human designs. "People of Earth," the War Prime began, "we bring you great news. The Vakari Empire has chosen to include your world in our domain." Ambassador Green felt his stomach drop. This was not the peaceful contact they had hoped for. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand." "Include us how?" "Your planet has resources we need. Your people will serve the Empire. This is a great honor. We have brought 17 other worlds into our domain. You should be grateful." The room went silent. Green tried to stay calm. "War Prime, Earth is an independent world. We would be happy to trade with your empire, but we cannot accept being ruled by others." Thexkar's black eyes seemed to grow darker. "You misunderstand, little human. This is not a request. The Vakari Empire does not ask permission from primitive species. We take what we need." "We are not primitive," Green said, his voice getting harder. "We have our own civilization, our own rights." The War Prime laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Rights? You have lived on one small world, never traveling to the stars until recently. Your weapons are simple metal and chemicals. Your ships barely reach your own moon. We have conquered the galaxy while you were still living in caves." Another Vakari spoke up. "War Prime, perhaps we should show them a demonstration of our power. These humans seem confused about their place." Thexkar nodded. "Yes. Perhaps seeing our strength will help them understand." He looked directly at Green. "You have 1 rotation of your planet to surrender. Bring us your leaders, your military commanders, your scientists. They will help organize the transition to Vakari rule." "And if we refuse?" Green asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then we will take what we need by force. Your cities will burn. Your people will be harvested like crops. We prefer cooperation, but we do not require it." The War Prime stood up, towering over the human delegation. "We have done this 17 times before. Some species choose the easy path, others choose pain, but all choose service to the Empire in the end." Green watched as the aliens left the station. His hands were shaking as he activated his communication. "Device, Earth Command, this is Green. First contact has failed. They're not here to make friends. They want to conquer us." Admiral Davis's voice crackled over the radio. "Confirmed, Ambassador. Return to Earth immediately. We need to prepare for war." As Green's shuttle flew back toward Earth, he looked out at the alien fleet waiting at the edge of the solar system. 12 ships had become 20. More were coming. On Earth, alarms began to sound. Military bases came alive with activity. Families looked up at the stars and wondered if this would be humanity's last night of freedom. Commander Sullivan watched the tactical display from his station. Red dots marked alien ships all around the solar system's edge. They were not hiding anymore. More ships arrived every hour. "How many now?" he asked Lisa. 47 confirmed vessels. "And Jake, these are not explorers. These are warships. Big ones." Jake nodded grimly. Earth had wanted to meet aliens. Now they were here. And they wanted to destroy everything humans had built. The war was about to begin. The 24 hours passed like a nightmare. Admiral Helen Davis stood in the war room deep under the Rocky Mountains. Every screen showed the same terrible sight. 300 alien warships now filled space around Earth. They kept their word, she said to no one in particular. They waited exactly 1 day. Captain Ryan Brooks was in space aboard the UES Liberty when the attack began. His ship was one of 50 that made up Earth's entire space navy. Against 300 alien vessels, it felt like bringing a knife to a gunfight. "All ships, this is Admiral Davis," came the voice over the radio. The aliens have rejected our final peace offer. We are now at war. Fight hard, fight smart, and make them pay for every inch. Ryan looked at his crew. They were scared, but ready. You heard the Admiral? Battle stations. Today we find out what humans are made of. The first alien ship to fire was massive, bigger than 3 human carriers put together. Its weapon was a beam of pure energy that cut through space like a sword. When it hit the lunar mining station, the entire structure simply vanished. 800 people died in 1 second. My God, whispered Ryan's tactical officer. How do we fight that? Ryan gritted his teeth. The same way humans always fight. We adapt. On Mars Colony, Major Alex Turner watched the sky fill with fire. Alien dropships were landing all around the human settlements. Each ship was the size of a building and carried hundreds of enemy soldiers. All units fall back to the inner city, Alex commanded his troops. Do not engage in open ground. Make them come to us. The first Vicari soldiers Alex saw were 7, feet tall and moved like hunting cats. Their armor was sleek and black, and their weapons fired bolts of energy that could punch through tank armor. But Alex noticed something important. They moved in perfect formations, like machines following a program. They fight like robots, Alex told his sergeant. No creativity, no adaptation. We can use that. In the underground labs beneath Geneva, Dr. Linda Foster worked frantically over pieces of a crashed alien fighter. Her team had managed to shoot one down over the Pacific, and now they were trying to understand how it worked. The power source is incredible, she told her assistant. It's like they have a small star contained in a box. But look at this. She pointed to the weapon systems. Everything is automated. There's no manual controls anywhere. Her assistant looked confused. What does that mean? It means they don't know how to fight when their computers stop working. Their technology is advanced, but they've forgotten how to think for themselves. Back in space, Captain Brooks was learning the same lesson the hard way. His ship Liberty was fast and small compared to the alien vessels, but every time he tried a standard military tactic, the aliens were ready for it. Their computers predicted every move. Then something made him angry. On his screen, he watched an alien ship destroy a medical station. The station was clearly marked with red crosses and was evacuating wounded civilians. The aliens destroyed it anyway, laughing over their communications. That's it, Brooks said. No more playing by the rules. Helm, take us straight at that big ship. Full speed. Sir, that's suicide, his pilot said. No, it's crazy. There's a difference. Brooks pushed his ship into a kamikaze run directly at the alien command vessel. The alien computers calculated that no sane pilot would do this, so they didn't target Liberty until it was too late. At the last second, Brooks fired every weapon he had and pulled away. The alien ship staggered, its shields flickering. Did you see that? Brooks shouted over the radio. Their computers can't handle the unexpected. Hit them with everything they don't expect. War Prime Thexkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the battle with growing irritation. The humans should have been crushed in minutes, but they kept doing things that made no tactical sense. Their ships were inferior, but they fought like cornered animals. War Prime, reported his tactical officer. The humans are using suicide tactics. Our computers cannot predict their actions. Impossible, Thexkar snarled. No intelligent species fights without logic. On the screen, a human fighter flew backwards while shooting, something that violated every rule of space combat. It managed to destroy 2 Vicari interceptors before being shot down. Perhaps, suggested another officer, these humans are not intelligent after all. Perhaps they are simply insane. Thexkar considered this. In his experience, inferior species either surrendered quickly or died quickly. These humans were doing neither. On Earth's surface, the bombardment had begun. Major cities were burning as alien ships fired from orbit. But instead of surrendering, humans were fighting back harder. In London, civilians were throwing improvised bombs at alien ground troops. In Tokyo, office workers had turned skyscrapers into fortresses. Commander Jake Sullivan coordinated the defense from his station, which was now the only remaining orbital platform. Everything else had been destroyed. His job was to get information to the ground forces about alien movements. "Jake," called Lisa Carter from her station, "I'm picking up something weird. The alien ships are having trouble with our chaff systems." Chaff was simple technology, just metal strips fired into space to confuse radar. It was ancient by human standards, but it seemed to be working against alien sensors. They're too advanced for their own good, Jake realized. Their sensors are designed to cut through sophisticated jamming, not simple junk. He immediately sent this information to all Earth forces. Within an hour, every human ship and base was launching primitive countermeasures that the alien computers couldn't handle. Admiral Davis received the report in her bunker. "So their weakness is that they're too smart," she said with a grim smile. "They've forgotten how to deal with simple problems." On Mars, Major Turner was proving this theory correct. His soldiers had abandoned their high-tech weapons and were using simple rifles and explosives. The Vakari armor could stop energy weapons, but old-fashioned bullets still worked. They've been fighting advanced civilizations for so long they forgot about basic threats, Turner told his men. "Let's show them what primitive looks like." Dr. Foster made another discovery in her lab. The alien technology was incredibly advanced, but it was also incredibly specialized. Every system was designed for one specific purpose and couldn't be modified. "Human technology is crude compared to this," she explained to Admiral Davis over a secure line. "But our crude technology can be adapted, modified, and used in ways we never intended. Theirs can't." As night fell on Earth, the alien fleet had destroyed most human military targets. But they had also learned something disturbing. Humans didn't fight like other species. When their advanced weapons were destroyed, they used simple ones. When their ships were outgunned, they used suicide tactics. When their cities were bombed, they fought from the ruins. War Prime Thexkar stood in his command center, looking at casualty reports. He had expected 0 losses against such a primitive species. Instead, he had lost 23 ships and thousands of soldiers. "War Prime," his aide reported. "Ground forces request permission to use orbital bombardment on all human settlements. They say the humans fight too unpredictably for normal conquest." Thexkar was tempted. Destroying everything would be easier than trying to conquer it. But the Empire needed human workers and Earth's resources. Dead humans and a burned planet were useless. Negative. Continue the ground assault. These primitives will break eventually. All species do. But even as he said it, Thexkar felt something he had never experienced in 300 years of conquest. For the first time, he was not certain of victory. In her bunker, Admiral Davis was making plans that would have seemed impossible 24 hours ago. Earth's military was nearly destroyed, but somehow they were still fighting. And in that fighting, they were learning things about their enemy that might change everything. The real war was just beginning. 3 days into the war, Dr. Linda Foster made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden in her lab beneath the Swiss mountains, she had been working without sleep on the captured alien technology. What she found would save humanity. "Admiral Davis," she said over the secure communication line, "I need to speak with you immediately. I know how to beat them." Admiral Davis arrived at the lab 6 hours later, traveling through underground tunnels to avoid the alien patrols above. When she saw what Linda had built, her eyes went wide. "Is that what I think it is?" Davis asked. "A working alien weapon modified with human technology," Linda said proudly. "The aliens build everything to be perfect, but perfect systems can't be changed. We build things that can be improved." On the workbench was a strange combination of alien energy technology and human engineering. It looked rough and improvised, but when Linda fired it at a test target, the beam was twice as powerful as the original alien version. "How is that possible?" Davis asked. "They forgot something we never learned," Linda explained. "How to make things better with whatever you have available." Look at this power coupling. They use exotic materials that are incredibly efficient. We replaced it with copper wire and got better results. Davis picked up the weapon. It was heavier than the alien original, and it looked crude, but the power readings were undeniable. How fast can you make more of these? Give me 100 engineers and access to the captured alien equipment, and I can have working prototypes in 2 days. While Linda worked on her weapons, Colonel Steve Patterson was discovering something else about human nature that the aliens had not expected. Steve was a Special Forces officer who had spent his career fighting human enemies. Now he was learning that aliens were much easier to fight than humans. Steve led a team of 20 soldiers through the ruins of Denver. The city had been bombed. Flat, but humans were still there, hiding in the wreckage and striking at alien patrols. The Vakari had conquered 17 other species, but none of them had fought like this. "Colonel," whispered Sergeant Amy Rodriguez from her position behind a collapsed building. "Alien patrol coming from the east. 12 soldiers, standard formation." Steve smiled. Standard formation was the problem. Every alien unit moved exactly the same way, followed the same patterns, used the same tactics. After 3 days of fighting them, Steve could predict their every move. "Amy, take your team left. Circle around and hit them from behind. Wait for my signal." Steve's plan was simple, but effective. When the alien patrol reached the intersection, they would split into 3 groups of 4 soldiers each. They always did this when entering an open area. It was textbook perfect tactics, which made it perfectly predictable. The aliens walked right into the trap. Steve's team opened fire with their modified weapons while Amy's team attacked from behind. The entire alien patrol was eliminated in 30 seconds. "Too easy," Amy said as they collected alien equipment. "They fight like they're following a manual." That's exactly what they're doing, Steve realized. They've been so successful for so long, they've forgotten how to adapt. Every battle they've ever fought, they won with superior technology and standard tactics. Steve's teams were not the only ones learning these lessons. All over Earth, human resistance fighters were discovering that aliens were predictable, rigid, and completely unprepared for guerrilla warfare. In space, Captain Ryan Brooks was having similar success with his remaining ships. Of the original 50 human vessels, only 12 were still operational. But those 12 were becoming incredibly effective at fighting the alien fleet. "Captain," reported his tactical officer, "we have 5 enemy ships pursuing us toward the asteroid belt." "Perfect," Brooks said. "Take us into the rocks." The asteroid belt was a dangerous place for large ships, full of floating rocks that could damage hull plating or destroy engines. The aliens were flying massive vessels designed for open space combat. Brooks was flying a small, agile ship designed for planetary defense. "Sir, the lead alien ship is breaking off pursuit. They won't follow us into the belt." Brooks grinned. "Of course they won't. Their computers tell them it's too dangerous, but we're not computers, are we?" Brooks led his small fleet deep into the asteroid field, where they set up ambush positions. When alien ships came looking for them, the humans would strike fast and disappear back into the rocks. It was a tactic no alien computer would ever recommend, which made it perfectly effective. War Prime Thexkar was becoming increasingly frustrated with the war's progress. By all logic, Earth should have surrendered days ago. Instead, human resistance was growing stronger. "Report," he demanded, from his tactical officer. "War Prime, we have lost 47 ships and over 3,000 ground troops. Human casualties are much higher, but they continue to fight with increased effectiveness. How is that possible? Their military was destroyed on the first day." "They are not fighting as a military anymore, War Prime. They are fighting as individuals and small groups. Our tactical computers cannot predict their actions because they have no central command structure." Thexkar felt something he had not experienced in centuries of conquest: confusion. Every other species had fought logically, using standard military doctrine. When their armies were destroyed, they surrendered. Humans seemed to get more dangerous. when their armies were destroyed. Perhaps, suggested his aide, we should consider negotiating with them. Negotiate. Thexkar's voice was full of disgust. The Vakari Empire does not negotiate with primitives. Increase the bombardment. Fear will make them surrender. But fear was having the opposite effect on humans. Instead of breaking their will to fight, the bombing was making them angrier and more creative. In the ruins of New York, civilians were building weapons from scrap metal and alien technology. In London, children were carrying messages between resistance groups through sewers the aliens didn't know existed. Dr. Linda Foster's weapon modifications were spreading across the human resistance. Engineer Maria Santos had taken Linda's designs and improved them further, creating weapons that were not only more powerful than alien originals, but also easier to manufacture. The aliens make everything perfect, Maria explained to her team. But perfect things break when they get damaged. Our modifications are ugly and crude, but they keep working when parts get destroyed. Maria's workshop was in the basement of a bombed-out factory. She was using salvaged alien components, human electronics, and whatever materials she could find. The weapons her team produced looked like they had been built by cave dwellers, but they could punch holes through alien armor. "How many can we make?" asked Danny Clark, a pilot whose fighter had been shot down on the first day of the war. "As many as we have materials for," Maria said. "And the beautiful thing is, every alien ship we destroy gives us more materials to work with." Danny picked up one of the modified weapons. It was heavy and awkward compared to human military equipment, but the power readings were incredible. "Can you modify fighter weapons the same way?" "Already working on it. Give me a ship and I'll make it capable of taking down a cruiser." This was exactly what Admiral Davis needed to hear. She had been planning something that most of her staff thought was impossible: a counterattack. Earth's military was destroyed, but Earth's people were becoming something the aliens had never faced before. "People keep asking me how we can fight back with our military gone," Davis told her staff. "The answer is simple. We're not fighting as a military anymore. We're fighting as humanity itself." Commander Jake Sullivan, still coordinating intelligence from his orbital station, was seeing the change in human behavior from space. The alien fleet controlled Earth's orbit, but they were having increasing trouble controlling anything else. "Admiral," he reported, "alien ground forces are requesting reinforcements in every major city. Human resistance is growing faster than they can suppress it." "What about their fleet?" Davis asked. 47 ships destroyed, and the rest are having to stay in defensive formations. Captain Brooks and his ships are making them afraid to operate alone." Davis smiled grimly. "Afraid? When was the last time the mighty Vakari Empire was afraid of anything?" The answer was never. For the first time in their history, the Vakari were facing an enemy that became more dangerous when hurt, more creative when desperate, and more determined when facing extinction. War Prime Thexkar stood in his command center, looking at reports that made no sense. Human resistance was supposed to collapse, but it was growing. Human technology was supposed to be inferior, but it was becoming effective. Human tactics were supposed to be predictable, but they were becoming incomprehensible. "War Prime," his aide said carefully. "Perhaps these humans are not like the other species we have conquered." For the first time in his long career, Thexkar was beginning to wonder if the Vakari Empire had made a mistake. But pride would not let him admit it, even to himself. The war was entering a new phase, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what happened when you threatened their home. 1 week after the invasion began, Admiral Helen Davis stood before the largest gathering of military personnel since the war started. Hidden in underground bunkers across 3 continents, over 500 officers and scientists listened as she revealed Project Retribution. "For 7 days, we have been learning," Davis began. "Learning how our enemy thinks, how they fight, and most importantly, how they fail. Today, we stop learning and start teaching." Behind her, a massive screen showed the battle plan. It was ambitious, dangerous, and completely insane by normal military standards. It was also perfectly human. The aliens expect us to surrender or die. Instead, we're going to do something they've never seen before. We're going to win. Dr. Linda Foster stepped forward to explain the technical details. In 1 week, her teams had produced over 3,000 modified weapons and 50 retrofitted spacecraft. Each one combined alien technology with human innovation in ways that should have been impossible. The enemy builds perfect machines, Linda explained. We build machines that get better with use. Their technology is like a beautiful watch, precise and delicate. Ours is like a hammer, crude but effective. Captain Ryan Brooks was one of the first to see the new ships. His damaged Liberty had been completely rebuilt using captured alien technology and human engineering. The result looked nothing like either human or alien designs. "It's ugly," his pilot said, looking at the strange ship. "Beautiful things die in war," Brooks replied. "Ugly things survive." The new Liberty was twice as fast as the original and carried weapons that could damage alien capital ships. More importantly, every system had been designed to keep working even when damaged. The aliens built ships that failed completely when one component was destroyed. Humans built ships that kept fighting even when half the systems were offline. Engineer Maria Santos had outdone herself with the fighter modifications. Danny Clark was the first pilot to test the new design, and what he found changed everything. "Control, this is Danny. The new fighter is incredible. I'm reading power levels that match an alien interceptor, but with twice the maneuverability." "How's the handling, Danny?" Maria asked over the radio. "Responsive like a sports car, tough like a tank. The aliens won't know what hit them." The key to Maria's success was understanding something the aliens had forgotten. Technology didn't have to be perfect to be effective. It just had to work better than the enemy's technology under combat conditions. Major Alex Turner was preparing for the ground phase of Project Retribution from his base in the ruins of Denver. His soldiers now carried weapons that could penetrate alien armor and wore armor that could stop alien energy weapons. More importantly, they had learned to fight in ways that confused and frustrated their enemies. "Remember," Alex told his troops, "the aliens fight like computers. They follow programs, not instincts. When you do something unpredictable, their whole system breaks down." Sergeant Amy Rodriguez had become an expert at alien psychology. "They're like chess masters playing checkers," she explained to the new recruits. "They're so focused on complex strategy that simple tactics confuse them." The attack began at exactly midnight, Earth time. Admiral Davis had chosen the moment carefully. The alien fleet was in standard defensive formation. Their ground troops were following regular patrol patterns, and their command structure was operating on predictable schedules. Captain Brooks led the space assault with 12 modified ships against over 200 alien vessels. By every military calculation, it should have been suicide. Instead, it was the beginning of the aliens' worst nightmare. "All ships, this is Brooks. Remember, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to start an unfair one." The human ships attacked in ways that violated every rule of space combat. They flew backwards while shooting, used their own destroyed ships as weapons, and coordinated attacks that made no tactical sense but somehow worked perfectly. Brooks himself demonstrated the new philosophy by ramming his ship into an alien cruiser at full speed, but instead of destroying his ship, the collision tore a hole in the alien vessel while his reinforced hull remained intact. This is liberty to all ships. Ramming speed works. Repeat, ramming speed works. The alien fleet had never faced kamikaze tactics before, and their computers couldn't process what was happening. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting. Attacks that should have failed kept succeeding. War Prime Thexkar watched in horror as his supposedly invincible fleet began to fall apart. Human ships were using tactics that no computer had ever programmed, weapons that shouldn't exist, and strategies that violated every law of space warfare. "How are they doing this?" he demanded from his tactical officer. "Unknown. War Prime. Their ships appear to be using our own technology, but modified in ways our scientists say are impossible. Impossible how? They have increased power output by 200% while reducing system complexity by 50%. According to our engineers, such modifications should cause immediate system failure. Thexkar looked at the tactical display, where human ships were systematically destroying vessels 3 times their size. Clearly, our engineers are wrong. On the ground, Major Turner's assault was equally successful. His soldiers moved through alien positions like ghosts, striking from unexpected directions and disappearing before the aliens could respond. "Turner to all units," he radioed. "Phase 1 complete. Alien command post is down. Moving to Phase 2. Phase 2 was something no alien species had ever attempted. Instead of trying to hold ground, Turner's forces were systematically destroying every piece of alien equipment they could find, then moving on to the next target. "We're not trying to beat them," Turner explained to his officers. "We're trying to teach them that staying on Earth is too expensive." The strategy was working. Alien ground forces were requesting constant reinforcements, not because they were losing battles, but because they couldn't predict where the next attack would come from. Commander Jake Sullivan coordinated the assault from his orbital station, which had somehow survived 7 days of alien bombardment. His job was to provide intelligence and communication links between the scattered human forces. "Jake," called Lisa Carter from her station. "The alien fleet is breaking formation. They're trying to retreat to defensive positions." Retreat? Jake couldn't believe it. "The mighty Vakari Empire is retreating?" "Looks like it. Their command ship is moving away from Earth orbit." Jake immediately transmitted this information to Admiral Davis. The sight of alien ships retreating was something no human had expected to see. Dr. Foster was monitoring the battle from her underground lab, tracking the performance of her modified weapons. What she saw exceeded her wildest expectations. "Admiral," she reported to Davis, "our weapons are not just matching alien technology. They're outperforming it. Human modifications are proving more effective than the original designs." "How is that possible?" Davis asked. "Because we understand something they don't. Technology is only as good as the people using it. They build perfect machines operated by perfect programs. We build imperfect machines operated by imperfect humans who can adapt and improve." The tide of battle was turning, but Admiral Davis knew the real test was yet to come. The aliens still had overwhelming numbers and superior technology. What they had lost was something more important: their confidence. "All units. This is Davis. The enemy is confused and off balance. Now we press our advantage. Show them what humanity looks like when we're fighting for our home." War Prime Thexkar faced a decision that no Vakari commander had ever confronted. His fleet was taking heavy losses, his ground forces were being outfought by primitives, and his technology was being turned against him. War Prime, his aide, said carefully, "Perhaps we should consider withdrawal and request reinforcements from the Empire." The suggestion was unthinkable. The Vakari Empire had never retreated from a primitive species, but the alternative was admitting that humans were not primitive at all. "No," Thexkar said finally. "We end this now. All ships, prepare for total bombardment of the planet. If we cannot conquer these humans, we will destroy them." It was the decision that would seal the Vakari Empire's fate. Instead of cutting their losses and retreating, they were about to escalate the conflict against an enemy they still didn't understand. Admiral Davis received the intelligence about the alien bombardment plan within minutes. The message was clear. The aliens intended to destroy all life on Earth rather than admit defeat. "So be it," Davis said quietly. "If they want to turn this into a war of extinction, we'll show them what extinction looks like." She opened a communication channel to every human force on Earth and in space. "This is Admiral Davis to all units. The enemy has chosen total war. We accept. Operation Prometheus is now active. Show them no mercy, because they have shown us none." Operation Prometheus was the final phase of Project Retribution, the part that Davis had hoped never to use. It was humanity's answer to the threat of total destruction, total victory. The real war was about to begin.